Gigi, why are you trying to eat that chair? Why? Exhales. Why? You're too cute. You're too cute for me to be mad at you. Oh my god, I gotta brush her. Stay there, Gigi. Stay there. Look at my feet. Ew. I gotta brush her. This is the same brush that I use for the vacuum. Just stay there. Stay there. We good. We good. Okay, there we go. There we go. Just let me do it. How nice of you to let me brush you like a pony. Okay, now what do I do with all of this? Brush it downwards? I know. You don't like that. I know you don't like it, but we all gotta do things we don't like here. Oh. Hello, everyone. It's been quite a while since I've last vlogged. I spent pretty much the weekend in bed and then every consecutive day after that and before that. So I think I spent the entire week in bed just binge watching TV shows, and I regret none of it. My vovó, my Portuguese grandmother, she passed away a week ago, last Wednesday. So when things like this happen, I think it's okay to be still and to do nothing and to kind of, especially in a situation like this where I'm alone, I'm like grieving alone, and I can't, obviously I can't go to the funeral because that's in the US, in America, and I can't spend any time with my family because we're all quarantined in different places from each other. So I feel no guilt. The only guilt I feel is that I feel lucky that I had the privilege to just be still for an entire week, and a lot of people don't have that privilege. So especially in a time like this. But, the good thing with all of this is that I got to watch a lot of stuff, a lot of really great shows and a lot of really insane shows, but thankfully I didn't watch anything that I didn't like, so it was a productively entertaining week, at least. Look at how nasty she is. She's licking her toes. Sorry that the chair is so gross. It's just, Gigi, we're the same person. We're literally equally disgusting. I don't even know how that stain got there. How do I even clean it? Oh boy, that's a problem for another day. So yeah, other than watching TV shows, I took a lot of photos with Gigi, and I also tried this hair hack that I found on TikTok where you wrap your hair around this like towel string and it comes out super curly, and don't really think that trick worked on my hair. I spent some time outside in the balcony yesterday, watched Gigi scream at the birds, which is something that she really loves doing, and I enjoy watching her do. So yeah, that's pretty much what I did. By the way, check out how nice and neat my apartment is. I'm proud of myself for keeping things in semi-order, because it could be so much worse than this. Gigi, you look so cute over there. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, look at this girl. Look how cute she is. Aww. So cute. So cute. Baby. Baby. Boy, 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 baby. Okay. Gigi, excuse me. What the hell? I'm trying to figure out how to focus this camera and she's standing in front of it. Am I in focus here? I sure hope I'm in focus, bitch. Otherwise, I'm gonna be really pissed. I'm gonna start shooting stuff and setting it on fire. Hey there, cool cats and kittens. Hey there, cool cats and kittens. It's a beautiful day in quarantine today, and I could talk like that forever. Before I get into the video, I want to do a huge shout out to the Retreat Animal Sanctuary. It's an animal sanctuary, a non-profit rescue that is in the UK right now in Ashford, Kent, and Cripple Hill. That was worst British accent I've ever done. Wait, let me try that again. On Cripple Hill, Ashford Road in Ashford, Kent. So the way this animal sanctuary raises money for the care of the animals is through visitors coming during the spring and summer seasons and the profits of that go into the care of the animals. And now, unfortunately, because of coronavirus, they can't accept any visitors in the sanctuary. So if you would like to even donate like £1, €1, $1, or whatever to help them out, it is going to be incredibly helpful for these animals. I have a link in the description box where you can go and donate to the Retreat Animal Sanctuary. I'm sure they're very much going to appreciate it. And what they do is so beautiful, that they're helping these animals have a home, you know, a forever home where they're not going to end up being slaughtered and eaten by humans, which is great. So yeah, check out the Retreat Animal Sanctuary in the description box below. Okay, so in case you haven't seen Tiger King and are not planning to, this is a quick summary of the show. Tiger King is the insane true crime story about Joe Exotic. He is a wildcat enthusiast who owned numerous tigers, lions, and other large animals that he kept in the GW Zoo in Oklahoma. But this isn't what the series is about. The series focuses on Joe's undying hatred for animal rights activist Carol Baskin, something which in the end will see him behind bars. The pair have a mutual disdain for one another, with both hell-bent on taking the other one down. This hate campaign on both sides takes over their lives. Joe accuses Carol of murdering her husband and feeding him to her own collection of wild cats. But his loathing for her takes a much darker turn when he pays a hitman to bump her off. In addition to Joe and Carol's story, we also meet a bizarre cast of real-life characters and scandals. This includes another big cat owner who is accused of running a cult, and a drug lord who says he may have inspired Scarface. Joe Exotic is of course the main focus and underlying narrative of this Netflix series. His real name is Joseph Maldonado Passage, and he is a self-proclaimed gay gun-toting cowboy with a mullet. The GW Zoo gained popularity in the early 2000s with tourists coming for photo ops with Joe's lions. However, Joe's tiger breeding made him a target for animal rights activist groups, including Carol Baskin's Big Cat Rescue, which ended up seeing Joe bankrupt and in jail. In 2014, John married John Finley and 19-year-old Travis Maldonado, though many questioned the legitimacy of the union. And that's it, folks! Oh my god. How is this real? So when I first started watching Tiger King, I was like, oh. And then I was like, oh. And then it was like, It's kind of like that meme.
No. Well.
It makes for great TV, very entertaining, very fun to watch. But there are a lot of things that disturbed me. I think there are a lot of things that pretty much disturbed everyone as they watch this show, but I'm gonna get into depth more about some things that are not such popular opinions. I'm gonna first start talking about the tigers because I think I read somewhere that this documentary, its intention was to be kind of the Blackfish but for wildcats, which it very much failed to be that if that really was its intention. They don't really focus at all on the tigers. Very little effort is put into us being educated about the living conditions of the tigers, on exactly what it requires for tigers to be able to survive under human captivity, and also why it's so problematic for tigers to be bred for entertainment and to be used for entertainment. The documentary kind of mentions that stuff very briefly, but doesn't really focus on the tigers. What I noticed as I was watching this series was there were a lot of cats in Joe's zoo that looked extremely malnourished, yet there was no interview about that. There were no videos, close-up of these tigers. There was not, nobody really talked about it. They did mention in some points of the documentary that they were low on cash and they couldn't afford to feed the cats as much food as they required. And then when it comes to Carol Baskin and Joe Exotic's comparison of the sanctuary and the zoo, kind of during the end of the documentary, we are told as an audience that basically they're both equally as evil. They've both equally harmed cats, and it just simply is not the case. We get a lot of accusations about how the living conditions in Carol's animal sanctuary are not good for the cats, that they're in small cages. But at the same time, we get this information that she has passed all of the inspections, yet Joe's zoo can't pass a single inspection that they get. When it comes to Joe's zoo, what we saw a lot of, we did not see vast plains of land that the tigers could roam in. We saw small cages, and we not only saw small cages, we saw tigers on top of tigers in those cages, which is not natural at all for these animals. Tigers are solitary creatures. They're not meant to share a small little cage with each other. The other thing that I noticed about the tigers is that there is never really any discussion about how these people have a relationship with these animals, like at an emotional level. When Joe or all the other zookeepers talk about tigers, they talk about how they're sexy and how it makes them feel powerful and how it makes them, you know, feel important. So all these people, they like tigers for how tigers make them feel. They don't genuinely, at any point in this documentary, we never see them actually talking about how they care about tigers and how they care about the tiger living conditions. There really was not any effort put in displaying their living conditions, in talking about why it's extremely harmful to keep animals like that in captivity. Tigers need vast amounts of land and they're solitary creatures. They cannot be stuck one on top of each other. And then the other thing is, like, obviously they have the right to raise their youngs and their babies and not have them taken away from them immediately the moment they're born so that people can take selfies with them. That is extremely disturbing to me. Okay, so let's move on to Joe now. The documentary is called Tiger King. It is about Joe. It's not about the tigers, and it's not really about any other character. He is the protagonist in this show. If you're trying to make a fascinating documentary, there's no other character that you could choose as the protagonist. And as a lot of other characters in this show said, he makes great TV. So from that point of view, he does make an excellent character to make the protagonist of this show. But on the other hand, here's my problem with making Joe the protagonist. Joe is a sexual predator. Joe is an animal abuser. Joe is a person that was okay with hiring someone to execute someone. Joe is extremely irresponsible with guns. He is insane. He is great TV, extremely likable, very charismatic, but at the same time, he's a terrible person. He really is a massive piece of shit. Through making him the protagonist, basically he becomes more humanized and likable to the viewers of the show, to the point where now pretty much everyone that has watched Tiger King really likes Joe and genuinely believes that he is innocent and shouldn't be locked up in jail, and that everyone else did him dirty. They also told the story in a way that makes us like him. And here's a few ways how they did that. Let's talk about the story of Joe and his husband that killed himself, which I cannot remember his name right now. So the first piece of information that they gave us through that storyline is that Joe provided his husband that is now dead with meth in order to keep him with him. And another thing that they said was that both of Joe's husbands were actually straight. He met both of them when they were teenagers, so under 20 years old. That is like insane predatory behavior. It's disgusting. And also, because Joe kept providing his husband with meth, that's one of the reasons why his husband died. And so they present that tiny piece of information in this story first. Then we get the part of the story where his husband shoots himself and dies. And then we get the scenes of Joe singing at the funeral and talking about his dead husband's genitals in front of his mother that is grieving her dead son. So that happens. The audience is kind of like, ugh, that's like poor taste, Joe, but like, haha, it's also a little bit funny. And then after that, they show us Joe as he's crying and grieving his dead husband. So we start off with this piece of information, which is basically proof that Joe is a sexual predator, a manipulator, and a massive narcissist, to then like spiraling down to the point where we feel sorry for Joe that his husband died. And this is the entire documentary's form of manipulation of the audience into making the audience like Joe. We get a lot of disturbing information about him at first, but then the documentary puts a lot of effort into humanizing Joe and making us like him. And because most of the audience has just such a goldfish memory, like a really short-term goldfish memory, people forget all the fucked up shit that Joe did, and we end up just feeling sorry for him. Pity is a massive form of manipulation. And this is another thing that the documentary does. It combines Joe's very charismatic, very funny, outrageous personality, and it combines it with making us feel sorry for Joe. Everyone is so obsessed with him and likes him so much, especially seeing the reaction of a lot of celebrities and supporting him. Not shocking, considering Joe is a massive narcissist, and some of the biggest narcissists in the world are celebrities, so obviously they would identify with Joe. Cardi B, for example, like, of course, this woman does not care about animals at all, so the fact that Joe has abused animals in a lot of different ways would not trouble her at all. And I think a lot of the audience as well does not really care so much about the animal abuse, because most people don't really care about animals, let's be real. I think a lot of people love animals, but they don't care about animal rights. Love does not equal respect and interest in that being, whether it's a person or an animal's rights. You know what I mean? So most people are indeed animal lovers. They are infatuated with animals and are interested in what the animal can give them emotionally, but they're not interested in that animal actually having the life that they deserve. So I think that a lot of people watching this documentary, unfortunately, love the idea of cats, but they don't really care about the welfare of these cats. And that is very heartbreaking for me. Seeing so many people online rally behind Joe and support him kind of makes me lose faith in humanity, just a little bit. Another thing that disturbed me about Joe is his complete irresponsibility when it comes to handling weapons. Multiple times we see clips of him shooting at people, towards people, shooting in the water, shooting in the sky. Like, this is very irresponsible use of guns, and I am so surprised that you can like be at that level of insanity in America and still be able to purchase a gun. Not only Joe had possession of guns like this, but also his meth-addicted boyfriends were allowed to go around everywhere with guns like that. For me, as a European, that is absolutely insane. I would not feel safe for a second if I knew I lived in an area where people were allowed to purchase such deadly weapons and just walk around freely anywhere with it. And also another thing that I didn't mention about Joe's manipulation, or the way he manipulates others, is they kind of present Joe and his staff as like this group of weirdos and all that stuff, and that Joe was giving opportunities to people that had none. But what that really was, what I observed that to be, is that Joe was hiring people that had no other option but to work there. I saw that as a way for Joe to really get a leverage over people like that and have them be more easily manipulated by him and allow him to do whatever he wants. Because if these people don't understand that they deserve better and that they have the right to have a much safer working environment, they're not going to stand up against Joe and the way that he handled things. And then his parents, like even Joe's parents ended up worse because of him. In order for him to not have to pay the debt from the lawsuit, he transferred it to his parents, to his senior citizen parents. By the end, during the trial, nobody really supported Joe at that point, which goes to show what kind of person Joe truly is. But the way, again, it was presented through the documentary is that, oh, poor Joe, nobody was there for him. Which is like, yeah, no shit, nobody was there for him. He's been an asshole to literally every person that he knows, and he's exploited every person that he knows. Of course nobody supported him. What shocks me is, like, how are you, the audience, still supporting a dude like that? And then when it comes to rational people that are maybe not as likable as Joe, they get hated by everyone because they simply are not as likable or capable at manipulating the audience as well as Joe does, and as well as the documentary allows Joe to do. So yeah, let's get into that person, which is Carole Baskin. I think she is very cringy, definitely. And not a super likable person, and not very self-aware. What the documentary did at the end of it is present Carole and Joe as being pretty much two sides of the same coin, equally as problematic, blah, 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 which I really don't agree with that. Do I like Carol? No. But do I think that she killed her husband? I don't know. There is zero proof about it. Is it possible? Yes, but is it possible that also I've killed like 10 people? Is it possible that you watching this video have killed 10 people? Yeah, but if there is no proof out there to verify that someone has killed someone, you are innocent until proven guilty. This is how the justice system works, and I'm glad it works like that. You have to give people the benefit of the doubt. If there is no proof that someone has killed someone, we just gotta let it go. Also, another thing is like, why do people care so much about Carol possibly killing like her rich husband? Like, I really don't care, and I'm not invested in the life of another rich white man. Am I just as terrible as all of them? I don't know, maybe, but I would have different feelings if it was confirmed that she killed him. Carol's sanctuary is a place where abused tigers and unsafe living environments, etc., or from zoos that went out of business or closed or whatever, end up there. First of all, these tigers are not bred with each other. So they are not multiplying the tiger population in order to bring more tigers into this world that keep getting abused by humans, that keep ending up having to be slaughtered because they can't find enough food to feed them. So are these sanctuaries big enough for tigers? No. What would be big enough for tigers is having no fences to keep them in and have them roam free. But obviously you can't really set a bunch of tigers free. But there's no way to provide an infinite amount of space for these cats, so unfortunately you do have to keep them in cages that are hopefully as big as you possibly can make them. And from what we saw from the from the helicopter ride, she has a lot of space for these tigers. On one hand, when you go to zoos, you financially support someone that is exploiting animals for profit and actually breeding these animals so that they can keep having a fresh supply of wild animals that are kept in cages in order for you to be entertained as a visitor of the zoo. And on the other hand, you have sanctuaries where animals are being kept, not bred, and just held there, taken care of until they pass away. Also, in most sanctuaries, the profits go into the care of the animals, so either to the staff that is taking care of the animals, and obviously the food and the grounds where the animals belong to, but the profits are not being raised for someone to use them in presidential campaigns or in order to buy 5 different monster trucks for his boyfriend. Very different scenarios. The distinction between zoo and sanctuary was not made clear in this documentary, unfortunately. I hope we have a better understanding of what zoos are and what sanctuaries are. When we go to zoos, we financially support the exploitation and torture of animals. When we go to sanctuaries, we financially support the care and dignified life of animals. Okay? Do we get it now? I mean, I could talk about it for days, but I'm not gonna. Another little update is that videos like this that are podcast style or vlogs are gonna stay up on my channel for a maximum of 3 months, and then I'm gonna make them private and have them only available on Patreon. I want to do this because I want my feed where I have my videos to have like my biggest production content, so stuff that I make that is packed with educational information, that is well researched and scripted and well made. I want those videos to be available to people that first visit my channel. Let me know what you think about that, but whether you disagree or agree, it's not gonna change my mind, okay? So thank you, cool cats and kittens, for making it all the way to the end of this video. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button, smash the like button if you like this video, and I'm gonna see you soon.